So my name is Wendell Thorne. I'm from Allenton, Florida. I'm a barber. Have a pretty interesting life. I'm kind of a Renaissance man because I'm involved in a lot of things. I'm a retired lawyer, and I'm a barber, and I've written a lot of books, screenplays, a lot of songs. So I have a lot of different things going on in my life. I'm a private pilot, things like that. So, but anyway, so 62 years old, and in 2 days, on Thursday, or this Tuesday, in 2 days will be my first rebirth date, my first anniversary of this thing that happened to me. When I was at the barber shop, it was cold, even for Florida, and nobody was there. My other barber was out back smoking, and I got this terrible pain right on my sternum, really bad pain, you know. And the first thing that happens is you know, there's a split second where you go, oh my God, I'm having a heart attack. And then you start lying to yourself. And you start telling yourself you're having indigestion, you know, and gas. And so I got up and kind of walked over the shop, and I went over by the jukebox, you know, and I have this pain, and I'm thinking, man, what did I eat? You know, I'm still lying to yourself because it's really true. You're still lying. And what did I eat? You know, what do I have? And there's another part of your brain back here that's going, there's a lot of things going on in your head. And there's part back here that's going, you know, stop lying to yourself. You know, you're having a heart attack. But you go, no, that's not true. I'm having gas with cold sweats and rubbery legs and skin the color of granite, you know. But it's not, you're lying to yourself. And I actually turned to walk back to my chair, and before I realized it, I was actually walking on my knees. I had dropped to my knees involuntarily. And then the pain started to subside. So I got up in my chair and I pulled up my phone. Honestly, I'm still pulling up my phone, and I click, what are some esophageal issues that mimic a heart attack? I'm still lying to myself. And then I look in the mirror, and I look at my face in the mirror, and that voice back here said, what are you going to do? You're going to keep lying to yourself. You're going to do something. But nobody was in the shop. And I thought, well, maybe I should get Debbie to take me over to the walk-in clinic. She's my other barber. But I thought, well, then I started thinking, well, I've wasted a lot of time. So I got up and I thought, well, I'm going to make my way to do something here. Because the pain started to return. And I walked over to the window, and I have a great big picture window, and it looks out across the road to a 19th century sugar plantation. It's all, restored. It's a beautiful view. And I took a sip of water, and I looked out this view, and then all those thoughts in my head went away. And I only had one thought. This is it. This is the last time you're ever going to see this building. That's the last time you're ever going to feel the floor beneath your feet. This is your last day. And I wasn't scared and I wasn't sad. I was kind of annoyed that life was over so quickly. But then I thought, well, I don't want to die in the barbershop. So I made my way out the back door and into my car, and I drove half a block to the walk-in clinic. And I stumbled in, I staggered, I splayed out she said, are you having chest pains? And I said, or something like that. And so they got me hooked up. They called 911. They put me into a room, and he threw a bunch of baby aspirin and nitroglycerin. And then the ambulance came, and the paramedic came in, and she said, "What, do you have an MI here?" And he looked at the EKG, and he said, "Yeah, I think so." And he looked at the EKG right in front of me. He said, "Oh, Jesus." And so I told him, even then, I said, "Man, you're not supposed to say that in front of me. you know, that's not very good bedside." And he didn't even respond to that because of the grave situation that I didn't realize. And and they dragged me and put me on the buggy, and they put me out, and they pushed me back into the ambulance, and I heard it click, and that's the last thing I remember. And what I found out later is that a young lady who's a medical assistant there, and she was a nursing student, she was coming out behind the gurney carrying my jacket, my shirt, whatever, and she saw my eyes roll back into my head, and she knew, and so she jumped up into the back of the ambulance, and she began CPR, and this is the thing, and you may not think this, but this is true. I was having a widowmaker heart attack, 100% blockage of the left anterior descending artery, and I didn't know that, but they did, and I know that now because I've done a tremendous amount of research and education since this happened. But he could look at the EKG and he knew how bad this was, which I think is pretty awesome that you can do that. Anyway, so She saw me. She saw me. My eyes roll back in my head, and she started to get CPR. And the guy who was in charge of EMS down there in Manatee County, Florida, where I'm from, he said unequivocally, if she doesn't start CPR, you're not here. That's it. It's over. CPR immediately. When something like that. And I was so lucky to have everything happen exactly, because a lot of people, they don't make it a lot of times because they're asleep when they have their no one knows. But I was so very, very lucky that I didn't deserve it, and so she beat me up real good, and they hit me with the defib, and they got me. This is a really cool part too, because they got me back, and I was out about 5 minutes. And they brought me back, and she said, "Welcome back. Don't do that again." I said, "Why is that?" She told me, and I said, "Okay." She goes, "Don't do it again." I said, "Okay, I'll do it." Well, here's the thing. I didn't know. They put a firefighter in the back of the ambulance with me, and he made me talk with my eyes open all the way to the hospital. He wouldn't let me close my eyes, and he wouldn't let me stop talking. Tell me everything that happened today. And I guess I understood why. But what I didn't know till later was, it's Andrew, who's the EMT, and he's driving the ambulance, and he said, they never resuscitated anyone who made it to the hospital. Did you know that? That's the truth. That's a big deal. I didn't know that either. You watch TV, you think everybody gets resuscitated. No, of course we know now that. But he said, so that they had me talking all the way to the hospital. What happened today? What'd you eat? What happened? Tell me. And I told the whole story. And I know we got to the hospital, and the hospital's being renovated, and where they have to park the ambulance and where they have to drag you to the cath lab is pretty far. And so here pushed me, and I'm looking up, of course I'm in the game, and I'm starting to get a little motion sick because there's all these different images coming in. I said, "Can I please just close my eyes?" "No!" "Just for a second." "No!" They got me in a cath lab, and I was starting to get scared. For the first time, I was starting to really get scared, which is really weird because now, because the doctor looked down and he says, "How you doing?" I said, "Well, a little scared." And he goes, "Okay, you're okay. You this is you don't have to be afraid anymore. We got you." And then I coded again. That's right when I went into arrest again. And I didn't know that till a long time afterward. But they didn't resuscitate me. He was in the middle of the procedure, so he pulled out the blood clot and crammed the stent in there. And my heart filled up with blood and then started beating again. And he said, "You did so well that he checked around and he put another stent in my right coronary artery." So my heart, this is the thing. And I'm going to be writing a book about, I'm going to be writing the book that I wish I had after this happened to me, because I had a lot of questions, and I really wanted to talk to somebody who'd been through this, because all my loved ones and all my friends and everything were very supportive. But, you just needed to be with somebody who could talk your same language, because you are a different person in a lot of ways, especially since if you change your lifestyle a lot, you really are. Like I quit 10 cigars a day, gave up the sugar, and I used to eat a lot of candy. And I kind of gave all that up, and so you are a new person. But it takes a long time. So I'm focused at this point in my life on that year or so afterwards, all the psychological and emotional things and all the depression and the pain, the real pain and the fatigue that you think is never going to go away, particularly because you're a little older. I've been around long enough, and I've been seeing these old guys, and they might be in good shape. And then something happens to them, not big, but something, and they never quite ever get back because of their age. So I was concerned of that. And then, like I say, about 4 weeks ago, I turned, man, I tell you, I feel so youthful and so energized, and I still have residual pain and numbness and stiffness, but it's sort of not in the background. It's not as interfering as it once was. And I feel like, I can manage with this, So I'm really thankful, but I really wish I had somebody in the early days. I'm a blogger, and so maybe throughout the course of this past year, 8 or 10 times I wrote my blog about how I was doing, and partially to let my readers know, but also partially so that I'd have contemporaneous notes for my book, So, but it's been a life change. I mean, it's kind of silly to say so, but it's been a huge life-changing event, and I don't recommend it. Like I talked to this one lady, and she said in Minnesota they make every kid who's before you can graduate from high school has to have CPR, and then they have AEDs in all the trooper cars and all a lot of the so that's what we're all doing, right? We're all trying to get more AEDs in the world, and we're also trying to get more people, especially young people, with CPR.